This is the bracelet that we're going to make. And this is the bracelet in another color combination. And here is the bracelet made with bicone crystals instead of round beads. So let's talk about the materials we're going to need. For this bracelet, you're going to need around 20 6mm round beads or bicone crystals. 20 beads will make approximately a 6.5-inch bracelet, 7 with the clasp. You're also going to need super duos as well as 11/0 seed beads. They can be Toho or Czech, really any kind of 11/0 seed beads, as well as 2 6 or 8 seed beads to attach the clasp with jump rings. So let's get started. I'm using a size 10 needle with 6-pound fire line, and I'm going to start by adding a super duo, checking both holes, and 3 11/0s, and I'll string that on. Then I'll go back up through all of those beads to form a loop. And here's where I can tie a knot. Here's where I'll go back up through that same hole of the super duo. Then I'll go down through the other hole of the super duo. Then I'll add an 11/0, a super duo, checking both holes, and an 11/0. And I'm going to go back up through the other hole. And that kind of makes a perpendicular there. Next, I'm going to add 2 11/0 seed beads and a super duo, checking both holes. And I'm going to go through this hole here on the of the first super duo and through the next seed bead. Then I'm going to go back up through the 2 super duos only. And this is the pattern that's going to repeat. We're going to add 2 11/0s and a super duo, checking both holes. We'll go down through the tip of the last super duo. Then we'll add an 11/0, 6mm bead, and 11/0, string that on. And we want to go back up through the 6mm bead, the next seed bead, and both super duos. Pull that tight. Again, we add 2 11/0s and a super duo, checking both holes, and we go down through the tip. This time we just add 1 seed bead and go back up through both super duos. Let's repeat those steps again. Add 2 11-0 seed beads and a super duo, checking both holes, and go down through the tip. Add an 11-0 6mm bead and an 11-0, string that on. And we want to go up through the 6mm bead, the next seed bead, and both super duos. Pull that tight. Again, we have 2 11-0s and a super duo. We go down through the tip. Add 1 seed bead and go back up through both super duos. So as you see, we're alternating the 6mm bead, seed bead, 6mm bead, seed bead. So let's do that one more time just to get the pattern. Add 2 11-0s and a super duo, checking both holes. Go down through the tip. Add an 11-0 6mm bead, an 11-0, string that on. Go back up through the 6mm bead, the seed bead, and both super duos. Add 2 11-0s and a super duo down through the tip. Add a seed bead and go up through both super duos. So we'll want to continue this pattern until we have our desired length of bracelet. And so we're going to stop after we put on our last 6mm bead, and then I'll show you how to turn the corner and start the next row. Okay, I'm about to put on my last 6mm bead. I'm going to string that on and then go back up through the 6mm bead, the seed bead, and both super duos. I'm going to add 2 11-0s and go down through the tip. Then I'm going to add an 11-0, a super duo, checking both holes, and 4 more 11-0s. And I'll string that on. And here's where I want to go through this first super duo, the next seed bead, and the next super duo. So we can see we've kind of created a corner here, and we're coming out this hole of this super duo. Next, we add 2 11-0s and a super duo, checking both holes, and we go down through the tip. Add 1 seed bead and go back up through the same hole, both super duos. Next, we add an 11-0 and a 6 or 8 seed bead, and we string that on. And here, I'm going to flip this over. Here we just want to go through this last seed bead here plus this one we just added. I'll turn it back over. Next we add one seed bead and we go down through the tip. Next, we add a seed bead and a super duo. String that on. And then we want to go up the other hole of the super duo we just added. Pull that tight. Then we want to go through this tip again, this one, just the super duo. And back up through the next seed bead and super duo. And back up this side of that last super duo. Then we add 3 seed beads and we string that on. Here we want to go through the tip in the same direction of the super duo plus all 3 of those seed beads we just added. And pull that tight. Now we're ready to start the other side of the bracelet. Here we add 2 seed beads and a super duo, checking both holes, and we go down through this side of the super duo and the next seed bead. Then we want to go back up through both super duos. Next, we add 2 seed beads and a super duo, checking both holes. And we go down through the tip of the last super duo. Now we go through the seed bead at the end of this 6mm bead. Sort of attaching to the first row now, and back up through both super duos. Again, we add 2 seed beads and a super duo, and we go down through the tip. Add a seed bead and go back up through both super duos. Again, we add 2 seed beads and a super duo, checking both holes, and go down through the tip. Since we're alternating attaching to the 6mm bead and then a seed bead, We've done our seed bead, so we're connecting to the seed bead on the end of the next 6 millimeter bead. And then back up through both super duos. Pull that tight. Again, we add an 11-0 and a super duo, checking both holes, and go down through the tip. Add a seed bead and go back up through both super duos. Again, add 2 seed beads and a super duo, go down through the tip, since we've done our seed bead here, we're going to go through the next seed bead above the 6 millimeter, and then back up through both super duos. So we're going to keep this pattern going, connecting to this first row here and going along the other side until we have connected through the last 6 millimeter bead, or the seed bead at the top of the 6 millimeter bead. And then we'll teach you how to finish that corner and finish the bracelet. Okay, I'm ready to connect to my last seed bead above the 6 millimeter. So I connect through that seed bead and go back up through both super duos. Next, I add 2 seed beads and go down through the tip. Then I add a seed bead, a super duo, checking both holes, and 4 seed beads. I string that on. And here's where I'm going to flip it over. And I want to go through this seed bead, this super duo, the seed bead that's after it, and the super duo. And here's where we can connect these 2 super duos. Add 2 seed beads. And we want to go through this first super duo and then the last one. Then we add a seed bead and we want to go back up through both super duos. Next, we add a seed bead, an 11-0 seed bead, and a 6 or 8 seed bead, and we'll string that on. And we'll want to go back through these last 2 11-0s. Then we add 1 seed bead, and we want to go down through the super duo and the next seed bead. And here's where we want to go back up through the tip of that super duo. And this is where our thread started here, so I'm going to go continue around 4 of these seed beads and back through, so kind of around. So I'm turning a corner before I tie a knot off with this other end. So I'm going to go through first 2 seed beads, through the next 2 seed beads, and through the tip of that super duo. So now my thread is coming out the same place as the original thread, and so here's where I can tie a knot. So that is the finished bracelet. So all we need to do is snip these ends and add the clasp. Okay, I've gone ahead and snipped both ends of the thread here. So now I'm ready to add the clasp. I'm going to take my jump ring and open it, feed it through a large seed bead, and add the clasp. And then close it. Then the other side just needs a jump ring. So we open the jump ring and feed it through the large seed bead and close it. And so now we have a working clasp. And that is the finished bracelet.